Hey, it's your girl Sage Wally with another video. I just wanted to come here and just shoot this video, make it short and sweet without stepping on anyone's feet. So I just celebrated a birthday on Friday, and I did this time to reflect, and I've been reflecting for a number of years now. I want to say like 3 years, 4 years, or whatever. I really thought I was having a midlife crisis. But I looked at some things over my life and what have I accomplished. One thing about me, I do not compare myself to other people. That is something that will cause you to, be in a depressive mode. And I did that during my very first year of education. That was back in 2004, 2005 when I got into the profession. And I didn't do it. I haven't done it since. That not going to do. But I had a conversation with Weaver Law. That is someone that I follow. I also went to high school with him. I started to think about where I wanted to be at this age of 40 and what did I want to do initially. So I initially wanted to be a dentist, but then I had a story. I used to be a little crew manager at McDonald's. I saw one lady's husband's mouth, and I saw how yucky it was. I went and changed my major. I couldn't deal with that. I always wanted to be in the military because I love structure, but I will tell you the reason why I decided against going into the military. But in the military, I wanted to do two things. I wanted to be either a dentist, which I already told you. I saw that man's mouth, couldn't be a dentist because it was yucky. No way, Jose, get out of here with those funky, rotten teeth. And I wanted to be a JAG. So those have always been dear to me. So JAG definitely was very dear to me. And so story short, I wound up changing my concentration. I was in high school, not in high school, but in college. But nonetheless, I still wanted the desire to be an attorney. I just didn't have that confidence in me. I looked at myself and it's like, here I am. I went to a predominantly black school. My mom and dad, they had to work multiple jobs, and I'm going to school with these individuals whose vocabulary seems to be larger than the professors here. And they are driving these expensive cars, and I was really intimidated and didn't have the confidence in myself. But I always gravitated towards the law. I got into some trouble. I had to thank God that wound up not hurting me in the end, but it did have me go into a fork in the road. And the path I chose is going to education, and I was only supposed to be in education for 5 years. The closest that I could get to that courtroom was being a paralegal. I got my paralegal degree and my certification after getting my bachelor's in criminology, and I excelled in that program. I love going to Emory's Law School. I love going to Georgia State's Law School. They thought I was a L1 or 1L. Long story short, but I didn't get into being a paralegal because when I was going to interview, they said experience. And I'm thinking, how can I get experience if I'm not given the opportunity? And the last person that I interviewed she wound up saying volunteer. At that time, I had student loans. I was afraid of Sandy Mae, Allie Mae, his uncle, her cousin, all. I was afraid of them. Garnishments was real in my vocabulary, in my world. So I wound up in education. They did not give me, weren't saying you need experience, I got that experience on the job. What should have been 5 years, it wound up turning into 15 years. So story short, I still had that love for law. Went back and got my master's, is master's in criminal justice with an emphasis in legal studies. I have that paralegal's certificate. I went and got my mediation certification for the state of Georgia. It's still doing it. And people come to me at work, or I tend to gravitate when they're saying, Warren, you need something, or I have this particular thing in here. And I say, give it to me. Let me read it. Let me read over. Let me find some law that could support it. Or when it comes down to landlord-tenant thing with my homeboy, God rest his soul, I'm like, okay, let me read this. I'm going to find out. I'm that person. And so it was a couple of years ago when I was teaching physical science, and this student said to me, I'll never forget him. And this is where I told my homeboy, Willie Weaver, who practices law in Jacksonville, and I'll link his information there. I said, this young man said this to me in front of the classroom and had me quiet for 2 minutes. And this was years ago. So what you're telling me is you basically dumbed yourself down to fit in. He caught me. And yes, I did dumb myself down. I dumbed myself down to fit in by other people, and I also dumbed myself down because I didn't have the confidence within myself to go and to pursue something that was really, really, really dear to me, because I didn't want to fail, because I know that I do suffer or have a learning disability, which is reading comprehension, but I did not allow that to stop me. And I teach my kids that every single time I go in that classroom. Every time. Like, just because you have this exceptionality doesn't mean that you can't go and do great things. Stop using that as an excuse. I said, believe it or not, you wouldn't know this, but when I was in 5th grade, I was in a small classroom for reading comprehension. I had an issue with understanding what I was reading, but I did not allow that to stop me. I kept on, and I had a support system. So my support system was my family, and that's just something that I'm going to do. I want to do this. And so a lot of people to realize, like, yo, Shawty, you have a reading disability? Yes, I do. I have to read stuff over and over and over again because it does not come easy, but that does not define me. That's just something that is on my back like a weight. But, you know, if I'm using that to strengthen my muscle, I'm going to get greater. So how can I teach this or preach this to my kids, my students, when I don't live it? And so there's my next thing. It's like, okay, now you're 40, you're 41. Girl, you too old to be going back in the classroom and getting your law degree. You better off with getting, you know, your PhD into something else, you know, in criminology. But it's still that yearning that I want. So that's where I am at this point right now, today, October 11th. Which way do I go? And so I was going to say this as something that I wish that I had some person, you know, a teacher or something, or somebody in close to me to say, you know what, I could see you doing that. I'm going to be your support. I'm going to encourage you. You keep on doing it. But at the end of the day, it all rests in me. They could want it for me. I wish I had something in this, because sometimes even now, our confidence is not that great. Some people say, well, I think that you have a lot of confidence. You feel confident. Not all the time. Not all the time. So it's not too late. If you're in your 40s and your 50s or shoot, whatever, it's not too late to learn something or to go back for your passion. And especially during this climate that we're living in right now, where people are reinventing themselves, you can too. So that's the reason why I wanted to post this and say this. I did have a meme or something that I made up, me walking away like this, little headphones, watch me reinvent myself. So my reinventing myself is building that confidence and having that confidence in me. And I am almost there about reaching out on that platform or following on that platform, trying to go to law school, but I got to build it up. I'm going to be strict with, I got to build it up. That's something that I want. That really is something that I always dreamed of. So I hope you can take the struggle that I'm taking with right now, what I'm battling with, do it with myself, that whatever it is that you on the fence on, may you find the solution. May whoever you believe in gives you the answers that you need. And I will keep you posted on what I decide. But I will tell you this, I am about to reinvent myself, and I am making plans to do something different, because I do see that education for me inside that classroom, I am getting kind of restless. So I love my kids, will always love, and I'll always be a teacher at heart, but I think I got to start practicing what I preach. Again, it's your girl, Sage Wale. I wish you the best, love, and light. We got this. Peace.